Hey, good morning, everybody. Hello, looks like we're live. Um, I'm trying a new microphone setup, so I need you guys to help me out and let me know if you actually can hear my voice. If you can, just type something in the chat like I hear you loud and clear, or hello, or something to let me know. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, I want to say good morning if it's that time for you. Good evening, good afternoon, good night if you're getting ready to go to bed. Um, Dev Time Gang, can you let me know if you can hear my voice? I'm trying to make sure that this new microphone that I have is actually working properly. So just say yes if you can hear my voice. Can you hear my voice? Sweet. Lolo says we can hear. Thank you all for tuning in. My name is Aaron Hill. For those of you all, I always have to remember there are many people that subscribe to the site and join the YouTube channel who don't know who I am. So I want to say hello. My name is Aaron Hill. I am the founder of Fruition Music, and you don't see me much because I'm always behind the scenes and have been for years. But I just want to say hello. First of all, thank you so much for your support, and got a few updates for you that I want to throw in here. So we just released new performance track. And I don't know if you all have seen it already, but if you haven't, we just released the You Deserve It performance tracks by JJ Harrison and Youthful Praise. And the thing is, we're trying something new with this. These tracks are absolutely free. And so we want to be able to give them all the way to you all. So the video after this, because this will be the first video, um, you can see those videos and you can listen to them. And we're trying something new. This is a lyric video series. Lolo says, "Seen it, love it. Thanks, Lolo. Appreciate you." Yeah, so we're trying something new. That was a lyric video, and we're gonna start doing lyric videos with our future tracks, and especially these free tracks. And that's why I want to tell you all about this. If you haven't heard about it already, we have a Patreon page that we now have set up, and we're getting ready to try a new stream of tracks along with our present library and the tracks that we, will continue to release through our store, our 99-cent track store. And you can also find those on iTunes and Amazon and Google Play as well. You cannot find them on the streaming sites such as Napster, Apple Music, and a lot of those sites. And if you don't know why, you can go back and check one of the last live streams. Just flip back a couple pages, and you'll see the address that I did there and why. But aside from our performance track store and everything that we have on the distributors sites, we also have a Patreon where we're releasing free tracks, and it's another bonus kind of content for you all. So here's how it works. On a monthly basis, we're going to be releasing performance tracks that go that direction to our Patreon page. And you'll be able to download those for absolutely free. All you have to do is just become a patron. The patron, let me see if I can do, how do you turn on? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm getting used to these new features. And I was looking at the super chat because I wanted to turn it on. If you guys aren't familiar with super chat, you can actually donate via this live stream if you like. If anything I'm saying you like, or you just support the company, you can actually make a donation via the super chat there. So, and this is live Q&A as well, so you guys can throw some questions out and I'll be able to get to some. I'm not sure how long this will be, maybe about 10 minutes or so. But at any rate, let's keep rolling. So we have our Patreon page, and what we're going to be doing is releasing free tracks, and we just started with this You Deserve It track. We're going to be releasing that there. If you become a Patreon, you have basically two tiers. You can start off at just $1 a month, and whatever we put there, you get to just have. And this is the stems. For those of you all that don't know what stems are, those are the individual instrument tracks. You have the performance tracks, the high key and the low key. You also have the click tracks, which is just the percussion version that a lot of musicians use. If they have, if you got a full band, um, you use a click track in order to keep the band in timing. That's the percussion part in the song. Or if they don't need help with timing, it's just to fill up the percussive element of the song. So you get that. You also get the MIDI file for those who all that like MIDI files and like to put them into your own programs and play your own instruments back. You get that, and you get the play along tracks, which are the performance tracks with one track minus piano, one track minus bass, and one track minus drums. And that allows you, if you're a musician, if you're a pianist, if you're a bass player, if you're a drummer, that allows you to play along with the track. So you get all that in the bundle for absolutely free. And what we're going to do, if you look at our Patreon page and you look to the left, we have a goal set there. Because if we reach 1,000 patrons, then what we're going to do is start having a voting system where you guys will be able to vote on the track for the month and possibly for the week if we get things rolling. It all depends on how much revenue we get in, how many tracks we'll be able to offer. At the end of the day, what we like to do is be able to offer a new track every week. We could even offer a new track every day. It all just depends on our patron numbers and how much we're able to get our patron numbers to the point of being able to fund the whole operation, to be able to take care of our producers and our engineers. And just as you guys know, whether you're a musician or not, you know that it's a pretty involved process. So that's what that's for. Renee, hi, nice to meet you. I'm from the UK and gospel singer. What motivates you to carry on with gospel? That's a interesting, very interesting question. So first of all, hello, nice to meet you from the UK. Sweet. When you say what motivates you to carry on with gospel, give me a little bit more of what you mean. I say like I'm a musician that actually gospel is just one of several genres that I'm actually skilled in and that I actually perform and play in and am an artist in. And in fact, I would say gospel is a genre that I started about maybe 2002. And pretty much for the next 10 years, I was a full time gospel musician here in the United States and in my particular area and traveled and done a number of things. And actually, I started getting more into jazz as well. And I actually started off, believe it or not, as a hip hop musician. I was actually a hip hop lyricist early on. A lot of people don't know that. That was way before I even got to gospel. And so, yeah, I've got several different genres right within my blood. So, yeah, but great question. If you want to elaborate on it, you can as well. And if anybody else has any other questions, yeah, drop them in the chat. And yeah, so the lyric video, besides Lolo, I'd like to see if others of you can give some more feedback on what you think of the lyric video. Um, Again, is a part of a new stream of content. We know that lyrics are very important to people, and these tracks with the lyrics, they allow you to be able to, use them at home if you just listening to something and you just want to study the song. Um, and then also you can use them for live if you're at a place where they have a projector or where you have a way to, to broadcast that, then you can just play out tracks directly from YouTube and be able to perform, with them. And it just allows for way more flexibility. Plus, you have the visual element as well, the visual aesthetic. So, yeah, that's that. And we put it in each video, even if it's a play along track video, because even if you're a pianist, you might be in a situation where you need the lyrics, and it's just more engaging. So we're gonna be doing, more of that. And we want to see what you guys think of that. Anybody else have any other questions? I also will answer questions after this live stream is over as well. So if you have a thought or a question or even a suggestion, go ahead and drop it into the chat. And even if you don't do it now, you're listening to this video later, please drop a comment below. We are interested in your feedback and your suggestions and your ideas, and all that jazz. And we respond to all comments. So, yeah, go crazy. Go crazy with your questions and your suggestions and your ideas. Yeah, so we got that happening, and that's pretty much where we're going with things. We have, if you all don't know, let me just backtrack for those. I always have to remember that there are new people that are subscribing to the channel every day, and so I'll kind of go back and give you guys an overview. We started this channel in 2009, and we actually started the performance track aspect of the company in 2007. By 2008, things really started getting off the ground, and then we went for the next 4 years, kind of on overload as far as just putting out material, and it's been great. You guys have responded in a really good way. It makes me think of one other thing too that's I'm glad I started going that direction so soon, very soon, and I really need you guys' feedback on this. I'm going to actually be starting to launch a new line of education, and it's actually dealing with teaching people how to make performance tracks, and specifically how to make better than karaoke style performance tracks. Um, one of the thing that One of the things that has helped us thus far, as far as popularity, is people really like the sound of the tracks from the perspective of the live instrumentation, and the soulfulness, if you will. And yeah, I started off, you know, developing that skill back in 2006. I was always fascinated with putting tracks together, and I was always fascinated with live bands and that kind of thing. So I started, as they say, cutting my teeth and studying and learning, and it got to a point where I myself, as a producer, was able to emulate songs, to give it that live band feel. And so since then, we've connected with other producers and that kind of thing. So one of the things that I'm definitely going to do, and it's going to be very soon, is we're going to do a course teaching people how to make gospel performance tracks, and really not even just gospel performance tracks, because the focus won't just be gospel. It'll just be how to make live sounding performance tracks, no matter what the genre is, and be able to show the techniques that are used in each genre to make all the genres, but how to do it from a production standpoint. And it's really the beginning of a whole line of educational content. And that's why I'm interested in you guys' feedback. Make sure information about your licensing for recording with your gospel tracks. Or is that something we can discuss here? Yes, that's actually a great question. So if you all are interested in recording with our tracks, all you have to do is to send an email. You can actually send an email directly to me, which is aaronhill28 at comcast.net. I'm actually going to put the address here. And I actually send you the information on that. It's a very simple process because we pretty much do a simple small fee lifetime license for each of our performance tracks. The original music that we have is a higher price, but the performance tracks are very, very affordable as far as the lifetime license. So just send a an email to me. And thanks so much for that question. James Armstrong, how do you go about tracking and picking sound patches? Great, James. Thanks so much for asking that question. And while I'm saying this, tell me if you just heard what I said a few minutes ago, as I started talking about the tutorials that I'm getting ready to start making and that the company is going to be making. And I'm asking that just because I want to, I'm curious if that's what sparked your question. If not, to answer your question, how do I go about tracking and picking sound patches? Feel. I mean, really, first and foremost, feel. And I'm a very analytical guy, so there's a lot of things that I can explain in analytical means, and I like to. With the answer to your question starting off, it'd be simple. It's just feel. And what I mean by feel is I'm a producer by nature. I started off as a hip hop producer. So the very first thing that I do is when I'm trying to emulate a certain vibe, I just look for sounds that fit that. The funny thing is, a lot of times I may start off with a sound that's a demo sound that I don't even really plan on using as the final sound, but I just can't help it because of being a producer. I craft around the sounds and the palette that's there and that I create. Like I tailor everything to everything else. That's what gives the performance track such a cohesiveness. And so, with that being said, sometimes I'll get to the end of a production and wind up not supplementing the original piano, just because Now in context, it feels amazing. So I would say the best way to describe it would be first, just overall feel and vibe, what makes sense to what you're trying to create. And then from there, then you can start getting a little bit more technical, and saying, okay, well, you might think about libraries and say, okay, well, what library has the best sound patches, the fullest, maybe the most high depth and that kind of thing. And then you might start selecting virtual instruments, things like Native Instruments Complete. I was trying to see if I had it around here to show you the hard drive. Something like this, Native Instruments Complete Ultimate. Got it clear there. Which this was $1,000 worth of sounds that are all super realistic, and that kind of thing. Um, and you can go to your keyboards, your different kind of keyboards, and it really just is more so back to the original question, which is what sounds and what feels good. The best thing I can say is, never go for just like what is everybody else doing, and what don't try to meet up to a standard, that. And I'm kind of answering. I don't know if you're asking in this way like for personal advice, but for what it's worth, if whether you dig it, whether it helps someone else, the best thing to do is not to go for what is the status quo, but more so what feels good for the production. Always do what feels good for the music. And then secondly, what's your take on things? What sounds and patches do you like? So I might be way off track, but it's tracking for you like coloring a picture. Oh man, James, I love you, brother. You asking the great questions. Like these are the beyond surface level questions I like. I would say yes, it is. And the funny thing about your question is that from the very beginning, I always have seen music in shapes and colors. And when I was studying with my piano mentor, he was wondering how I was able to get my scales and my chords so fast, and how I was able to remember things so fast. And it was because eventually I told him I thought everybody saw music that way, but what I would tell him was that there were these shapes and colors that would pop out at me, and every time I heard a sound, it brought back that. So in my mind, it was just these patterns of shapes and colors. So it's very much like coloring a picture. And I would say coloring a picture from the perspective of starting with a clean slate and just really being open to what feels right in a moment, what makes sense. Because I'm telling you, like I spent years from the very beginning, just like most musicians, just trying to emulate, trying to figure out what is it supposed to sound like. And that was good. You got to do that because that's how you figure out what tools and what vocabulary you're working with. But then after that, it got to a point where I realized, like, oh, the best thing I could do is just bring out my own sound and my own voice. And I would even say, even as far as the performance tracks, especially like the first couple hundred, that you guys hear, is all just my mind and my take. And you all haven't heard too much of my original music, which is on my other channel, Aaron Hill, the Aaron Hill channel. You can Google, and you can also look up Aaron Hill's music as well. But yeah, it's very much like coloring, painting a picture. Um, Once your piano is laid, and I want to talk more about that too. And that's why I'm going to do these tutorial videos and advice videos and educational videos, because there's a whole thought process that I'm ready to unveil about how to do this. And for all the people that are interested or that are in it themselves and need tips, or people that just need inspiration or whatever, like somebody that, people that need a different take on things. So the piano part is important. I lay down a pocket piano part first, which helps me to establish everything else. And I'm going to talk about more about that soon too. We'll be able to access this particular video after this live chat. If so, where will we look for it? Yes, Lolo, this video is as soon as I hit finish, wherever the finish button is. I might not be able to get out of this. We might be locked into this live stream forever, riding the wave notes. Once I hit finish, then it'll be right on the channel, immediately available. Like you'll see it as the most recent video. So thanks for that. Thanks, James, so much for your question. If you're still there, what would you consider the meat and potatoes? Is the meat and potatoes of all your tracks? Rhythm section, brother. Rhythm section. Meat and potatoes. When it comes now, it's different for different genres. Speaking for gospel, piano, bass, drums, organ is your meat and potatoes, and pretty much you build everything around that. You know, which is why I'm excited to unveil my process because what I basically do is I lay a couple layers down, and then I'll keep going back and replacing layers with new layers based on like the new layers that I put. It's a real interesting process. A lot of the tracks, believe it or not, and you know, this might be the dun, 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 like the big moment for many people. A lot of the tracks that you all hear, hey, what's up from Brazil? Thanks so much for tuning in. Drop a question if you have one, or feedback, suggestion, or what have you, Dennis. Thank you so much. Um, to a lot of you guys' surprise, the tracks are produced, fully produced, and all of the instruments that you hear are virtual. And so the way that we get them to be as cohesive and to sound as full and as live as they do is by this interesting layering process, and this process of layering down foundations and then laying things on top and then going back and substituting foundations and bringing them back to the top. It's a real interesting process for many that aren't aware of it or aren't themselves producers. I'm super excited to show that process, and yeah, this is exactly what I was interested in having a conversation about as well, because that's very it's something that I've been thinking about for a while, and it was just a matter of us finding the time and then the priority with everything else that we have going on, because this is not the only part about a company that we have, going on. You know, a lot of people don't know that because there's so much going on this side. But if you search for the Fruition Experience, there's a whole other side to the company that deals with other genres, and it's a boatload of music and good vibes and all that kind of stuff. We started a community as well, community organization this past March called the Fruition Community. I highly encourage everyone here to check that out. Thanks so much for tuning in from Brazil. What's happening in Brazil right now? It's really good to hear from you guys. Drop some more questions if you have any. Like I said, this is also a super chat too. What was the hardest track for me? hmm. It's kind of hard to answer that question because in order to think about that, I got to go through like 500 tracks in my mind that I've done. I would probably say I would say Richard Smallwood. It's something Richard Smallwood would be up there because of his movements and his approach to harmony. It's absolutely beautiful. It's unique from a classical perspective. Um, so sometimes mentally it could take you a minute to get it. It's kind of hard to answer that question. What was the hardest track? And it's only because each track presents its own challenges. Um, yeah, Smallwood is amazing. He's like the Bach or Beethoven of gospel. And one thing that he did. Sorry to get sidetracked, James. I'll come right back to your question. But one thing about Smallwood is that from a theory perspective, and it's something else that'll be going into some of the new educational materials happening. The way he thinks about things from a theory perspective is a foundation in classical music, and so because of that, he does these really interesting movements. And I wish I don't have everything on so I can turn the piano on and demonstrate for you, but he does these walks, these contrary walks that instead of moving together in motion like we're used to in most theory, they move opposite of each other. But the notes that he uses makes them pull together while they're moving outward. Like it really is classical foundation, and there aren't many people in the genre of gospel music who became popular who had extremely strong classical backgrounds. There are only a few. And yeah, that's what makes Smallwood so amazing. But James, back to that hardest track question. Man, I'm gonna come back. I'll tell you what. What I'll do is, I don't think the super chat is available after the chat. I'm gonna find a way to respond back to you, so I got to think back through that. But some of the more up tempo tracks can be challenging, for sure, because of the amount of speed that it takes to execute certain things. I'd actually say my jazz studies over the past 10 years now have actually helped me to really get better with that overall. James Fortune tracks are very challenging. Yeah, I'm not as familiar with as much of his music, but what I will say is when I think about some of the older projects that I'm familiar with, I think back to like Kim Burrell's music. Now, her tracks, her music, could be very challenging, as well as like even James Hall can get kind of crazy, especially like a lot of his old music. He can get kind of psycho, on the chord changes. But it's amazing. He's another one as well. It's like real heavy, deep classical, ideas. And yeah, yep, you hit the nail on the head, James. Yeah, I actually never learned that song. I was always fascinated with the arrangement of that song. And I was also always blown away with the length of the song because now I have the kind of memory now where I could muster it, but like, yeah, it kind of reminded me of when I was taking classical lessons myself, and my classical teacher sat me on the couch and handed me a book, and it was like a novel, and she said, "Turn to page one," and for the next 30 minutes, she sat there and played from memory this entire book. It was the most amazing thing ever. But that's what that classical music does to you. It really gives you that memory because it goes in a lot of different directions. A beautiful journey of music. So yeah, thank y'all for hanging out. This has been fun. If y'all have any other questions in general, please drop those. I'm gonna actually end this live stream. I see it going on 28 minutes, and I kind of want to make it where other people that tune in afterward um, aren't afraid of the time, aren't afraid of the length of time in order to listen. So yeah, I'm going to end soon. FaceTime sessions. Do you mean for instruction and do you mean for instruction, coaching, or mentoring? Um, Let me know because that is something that okay. So the answer is yes, but I haven't actually set that up yet. Um, but that is actually something that's a part of my new personal brand. In fact, my new Aaron Hill personal brand. And if you guys haven't checked it out yet, I encourage you to go pop on over and check out my other personal channel under Aaron Hill, and and check out the Bama Band's channel, the Fruition Experience, and also check out our entire community's channel, the Fruition Community. James, plus I want to poke your brain. I'm a music major. Sweet man, and I like that, because I have a philosophy. It's another thing. I have a podcast as well, guys. That is also something that's a part of my new brand. Again, over on the Aaron Hill channel. But that's cool because that's the goal. I have a philosophy, which is what I know you know, and so I don't mind at all my brain being picked because I definitely love sharing information and helping others. So yeah, thanks so much. All right, it's 29:45, and if I don't stop this before 30 minutes, people are gonna be afraid. So I got 9 seconds to end it. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all your support. And I'll talk to you guys very, very soon. And keep dropping your questions. Peace.